All right, y'all ready? Let's meditate. Up nice and tall. Let the eyes gently close. Check in with your posture. Make sure you're like nice center of balance. Each vertebrae stacked on the other. And draw the low belly in just very subtly. Relax the face, the forehead, corners of the eyes, eyelids, corners of the mouth. Draw the shoulders together on the back and down and relax them. First part, just still the body, so like a rock, fidgeting, no moving. And come to the breath slowly. Start to lengthen your exhales. Let the inhale just kind of take care of itself. Exhales. If the mind leaves the breath, and just gently bring it back. Try to allow the sounds in the lobby. Try to allow them to dwell within your peripheral awareness, the kind of in the peripheral of your mind. So it's there, you know it's there, but you don't need, there's no need for you to like tune in and figure out exactly what they're talking about, etc. Your focus is on the breath, so just toy with that. Long exhales, focusing on breath, but still have this tolerance for what's happening around you, so you're not trying to shut it off. Let's count 10 breaths without the mind wandering away from breath. And start your count on an exhale. If your mind wanders, leaves the breath, and start your count back over. Get to 10, then start your count back over. Okay, then let that go for the preliminaries. So, first preliminary, taking refuge. Bring the mind ways that you typically seek shelter from stress, anxieties, long days at work, in hopes of becoming a little bit happier, a little bit more content, a little bit more peace of mind. Just think about for a moment those ways that we seek refuge, worldly refuge, how those things don't have the power in and of themselves to bring you the peace of mind you're looking for, the happiness you're looking for. True refuge is understanding what is the karma, what is the causes that create stress, what is the karmas that create suffering in your life. So understanding emptiness is refuge, taking refuge in your best understanding of emptiness. So bring to mind your best understanding of emptiness and karma. Next is bodhicitta. Bring the mind the desire, bring the heart the desire to want to get yourself out of suffering so you can help all beings get out of suffering as well. That's hard to wrap your head around, then maybe start with your small family unit, people close to you, and the desire to want to be able to help them. Just include them in your motivation for coming and sitting here today. Taking time out of your night. You're here for them. And then bring to mind Next preliminary is bring to mind some being for you that has some high qualities, so a holy being of sorts. So yeah, religious figure could be a friend, a parent, a mentor, living or dead. Just someone that has some high qualities that you see in them. Have them come sit here in front of you. And the higher, the better here. The higher the good quality, the better. The qualities. So just visualize them sitting in front of you. And start with their silhouette. If you got their silhouette, then start to paint in the details. Paint in their smile, their eyes. Just try to get them as clearly as you can. And they're happy to be here sitting with you. And just bring to mind the qualities that you see in them. Like whether there's things that they have that it'd be nice to have myself, or maybe things that you're working towards yourself. Just see them maybe in acts where they show you that quality. But this part in the preliminaries is called like prostration. So like you're bowing down with respect to those qualities. So just bringing them to mind and recognizing them as good, kind qualities that you'd like to have yourself. That's the objective here. And then make them an offering for coming and sitting with you. The highest offering is your practice, offering your practice to them. And a really good offering is to offer this idea called a mandala. If you heard of that term before. It means a world where everybody understands the irritating person. Everybody understands the pen. Everybody understands that if they want something, they got to give it to somebody else. They got to help somebody else that wants that same thing. Offer them just a perfect world where everyone gets that. It's considered a mandala, perfect world. Everybody operates under the understanding of how things exist, how things function. Therefore, never do something unkind to somebody else. Next preliminary is purification. So bring to mind something unkind you did in the past 24 hours, the past 12 hours today. And first recognize it, so just bring it to mind. And develop a little regret. Understanding, using an understanding of karma. By that unkind act you've seen yourself do, put seed into your mind stream, which then will ripen to become a negative result for you in the future. Or regret, or a lot regret. And a resolution not to do that again for a certain period of time. You're good to do something that you can follow through with, not make over commitments. Or you're lying to yourself maybe if you don't do it. Something that you know you can do. Start small. The next 2 minutes, 10 minutes, next hour. You work out from there. And last one. Sorry, the last one that we just did is a restraint. So you're restraining yourself. And the last one's a resolution. So now make a plan to do something to counter that negative seed you put into your mind. So something kind of equivalent, but in the positive sense. And last preliminary is rejoice. Very important. So bring to mind something kind, selfless you did for somebody else in the past day. Replay it, feel happy about it, rejoice about it. Be happy about the good things you're doing. It's crucial for this practice. See where you were, see where they were, how they felt, how you felt. Think about it. Okay, and then the breath. You need to shift right now. Do it mindfully. Self-comfortable, and we'll move through our main meditation event. Preliminary is just being the warm-up for the meditation practice. You check in with your posture and make sure you're not slouching. Draw the low belly in gently if it's not. Shoulders relaxed, face relaxed. And so bring to mind a goal that you have for yourself in the next, the next few months, maybe this month. So maybe a goal with your work, a goal with your partner, a goal with your practice, maybe. Which is some goal. Bring it to mind. You're the one that's the most important for you right now. And then think about the ways that typically you would go about creating that goal for yourself. How are ways, in the past you would go, and ways that things that you're doing to make that goal happen right now? It's, for example, like you want to find a new job, or you want a new promotion, or you want more money at the job, or you want more peace of mind, less stress perhaps. And think about the ways that you typically go about doing that, achieving that goal. And think about how these ways by themselves do not have the power to bring about that goal. If it does not involve helping somebody else with that goal, then these methods that we typically try to create the things in our lives that we want have nothing to do with the goal. So if it's peace of mind that I want, then maybe typically I need to find more time that I could do things I enjoy, or I need to go on some medicine, or I need to go talk to somebody. If it's a promotion at the job, I need to work harder so my boss sees me working harder. Or looking for a new job, I need to check all the job sites, Monster, maybe even find somebody to help you find a job. These are the methods that typically we believe create that result that we're desiring. So think that if they were, then everybody that did them would always achieve that result, and they would always work. So everyone that did them, it would work for everybody. So if working really hard, showing your boss that you really bust your butt was the cause of getting promotion at the job, then everybody that did that would have promotion. Peace of mind was achieved by finding something you really enjoy to do, talking to a psychiatrist, or new medicine, maybe. And everybody that tried that method would achieve that goal. And it would always work. So there'd be no stress involved for one. You would just do that thing and it would be done. There'd be no hoping. Typically, most of the time, we're hoping for a result. We're hoping to achieve the goal. Because part of us knows the means that we use to achieve that goal don't work. A working thing, definition of a working thing is something that performs a function all the time for everybody, not sometimes for somebody. Otherwise, it's not a working thing. Understanding that things don't work that way. Things are empty of having any power in and of themselves to create a result like that. There's no power in those external goals that those external means that we're trying to achieve the goal with. So now, bringing wisdom to it. Think about your goal and then the only way to achieve your goal is to help somebody else get that same thing. Karma, it has to be coming from seeds. Things we want are achievable, but we just got to create the correct causes. So it has to involve helping somebody else, in whatever case that is. The work, the peace of mind, new partner, or an upgraded partner. Think of somebody else that wants that same thing. And then take refuge in that understanding that my goals and the things that I want in my life are totally achievable, but not in these crazy things that we're trying all the time, because they don't have no power in and of themselves. If they work before, it's because you would help somebody else. If they didn't work, it's because you didn't help somebody else. So help somebody else and then try those things. Just bring somebody to mind, and we'll just quickly go through. Bring somebody to mind that wants that same thing. And make a plan to help them. How can I, at least a few times a week, think about helping them or work on helping them get that thing. Then the third part of that is, actually doing it. So you're following through with that in real life. And then the most important step of fertilizing those seeds you put into your mind by thinking and helping somebody else is rejoicing about it. Feeling happy about helping them is what fertilizes those seeds into becoming a cause, a result for you that you can see. So within a time period where you can draw the connection and be like, wow, that obviously came from all the work I've been doing. Otherwise, the seed can go in your mind and stay there for 100 years plus and not ripen. So here, think of ways in the past week that you worked on helping somebody get that same thing that you want. In small ways, subtle ways, if there were any. If there weren't, then go back a little further. Try to find last time or a few times that you helped somebody and just bring it to mind and feel happy about it. By doing that, it replants those seeds, it fertilizes those seeds. No expiration date on seeds. And then come back to breath and take 3 long breaths before you move. Long exhales. And after your third, come out, stretch, crack. Everybody all right? Awake? Okay, before we begin, anybody have any questions that I can attempt to answer? Maybe? about anything? Oh, maybe I'll. I always want to put this over here, but I can't write with my left hand. It just feels wrong to put it over here. All right. Everyone good? Cozy? Sleepy? All right, so last week we didn't do anything new. We just kind of went over the first class or 2 or 10 a little bit, reviewed a bunch of stuff. So we don't really need to do that again, right? Let's try to do some new stuff. So we're talking about perfection of wisdom in this course, and we define that as being the direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in the heart. That's true perfection of wisdom, as it was defined by the Buddha. So there's 3. We'll go into 3 levels of perfection of wisdom. So there's three types or levels, if you want to call them. And one is the path. So this is someone who has seen emptiness directly and had bodhicitta in their heart, but not a Buddha yet. 2 is result.
What was the path again? Has seen.
So someone who has seen emptiness directly and with bodhicitta in the heart, so that's how it was defined, as having that direct perception of emptiness with bodhicitta in the heart, but not a Buddha yet. The result is one who has seen emptiness directly and sees all things simultaneously as both empty and deceptive, sees all past, present, and future simultaneously. So basically, this is a Buddha. So this is the perfection of wisdom at the level of a Buddha. So they've seen direct perception of emptiness, had bodhicitta in their heart, and now because they're a Buddha, they one of the qualities of a Buddha is they see all time simultaneously. So past, present, and future, they see all that at the same time. They see all future, they see all past, and they obviously see present. And they see, the other thing is that they see, we were talking about this last week a bit. So, so a Buddha knows all things, is omniscient. That's what happens after direct perception of emptiness, where you see the faces of every living being in the universe. And our minds have that capability now. It's just unlocking that, right? So I don't know. I would assume, I never heard that said, but a Buddha knows all things. So if those things are within all things. And I don't know if he perceives them all at the same time, like all the time. I never heard that talked about. It could be true. It sounds like if it's something that happens after you have the direct perception of emptiness, then it seems like, and you're not a Buddha yet, then it seems like if you are a Buddha, then that would be part of your deal. So a Buddha sees things as empty as well as the deceptive reality. So they see ultimate nature, ultimate reality, and deceptive reality at the same time. So in the sense of the irritating person, they see that there's an irritating person that appears to be coming at them, but they also see the emptiness of that being directly. So that same experience that you have in direct perception of emptiness, where you see directly, you have a direct experience of that. They see that all the time. They're constantly in that state. but they also see how we see things, which is deceptive, where things appear to be out there. Whereas an Arya sees things as deceptive, but they don't see things as ultimate. They don't have that ultimate perception. They had that ultimate perception, but it lasted for 20 minutes. And then once it was over, they see things as wrong again. They see things as coming at them. But the thing is, they know they're wrong at that point. So the thing that distinguishes that, well, one of the things is that when you become a Buddha, you see ultimate reality and deceptive reality simultaneously. Where a mind that's not enlightened, a Buddha, cannot have those two perceptions at the same time. So we're stuck in this deceptive, things are out there coming at us, but you can know you're wrong. It's like that wallet thing we were talking about. The wallet in my bag, if I showed it to you, you would know it's in there, whether someone told you it wasn't or not. You've seen it in my bag. So a Buddha sees both. So that's perfection of wisdom as a result. And then 3 is the books. So these two are kind of the realizations, and this one is like the sounds and the words of the Buddha. So like the sutras that we're going through and all these teachings, which this course is called the Perfection of Wisdom, right? The teachings on emptiness and wisdom. They called they called the Perfection of Wisdom the mother of Buddhas. I forget the Tibetan. You talk about the Tibetan word of it, but it translates to these teachings being the mother of the Buddhas. It's because that's what produces Buddhas. This understanding, these practices are what makes one a Buddha. So therefore, giving birth to Buddhas is coming from this understanding, this perfection of wisdom. So that's that. And then we have refuge. So what this course is, refuge. And so 2 things must be present for refuge. Does anybody remember them from first? Does anybody remember one of them? Just regular old refuge. Just refuge and... Yeah, right. Scared is one of them. So, you think, when you're little and your brother, your sister's beating you up or something, or tormenting you, and you get to the point where you're scared, then you run to mommy, right? Well, first comes the fear. And then the second part is that someone could help you, like mom, you believe that someone could help you. So you don't run to like your little friend, when you're scared, from a thunderstorm. You don't run when you're 10 years old. You don't go run into the kid younger than you because you don't think they could help you. You run to your mom because you feel like there's some protection in there. So that's, that's all refuge in a sense, all refuge in any, like being scared from a thunderstorm, like we just said. Those 2 things have to be present. And so more deeper than that, getting into Buddhist refuges is that nothing in the world can ultimately help us, like we have death. When that time comes, no doctors, no amount of money, no amount of, no worldly things. It doesn't, matter how many houses you have, how much money you have in the bank, how many doctors you have standing beside you. When your time has come, they're helpless. Those things are pointless. So the only thing and then the whole point of, these practices is the only thing that could help us, if that's our fear, is like fear of this suffering to continue over and over again. Then the only thing that can help us is this thing called 3 jewels. Has anybody heard three jewels before? Yeah. So that's kind of, in Buddhism, Buddhist refuge always is centered around 3 jewels. It's 3 things that, because we're fearful of suffering, because we're fearful of the suffering life and having to perpetuate more suffering and ultimately, death and having to potentially be born again in a place that's, not even anywhere close to where we're at now, suffering-wise, much more, then, what can really help us? And again, it has nothing to do with worldly things. So the only thing that can help us is 3 jewels. So the 3 jewels, we'll go through 3 jewels. 3 jewels first one is the Buddha. Next one is Dharma. And the next one is Sangha. Sorry, I write like a third grader. I think my learning of my learning stopped in third grade. How to write neatly. So Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Anybody heard of those three? How about Sangha? That's something that we... Community, yeah. So Buddha, Buddha is obvious. Dharma. Teachings, yeah, that's kind of what... And we're going to go into each of these a little bit deeper, but... And just on the surface, and then Sangha is the community, yeah. So first one, community. We're going to go deep into them, but I just want to see, if you guys heard, make sure you heard of all three of them before. So the Buddha jewel. So they separate these two. They call, there's the Buddha and the Buddha jewel, Dharma, Dharma jewel, Sangha, and Sangha jewel. So first we'll talk about Buddha jewel. So there's two qualities. One is ultimate protection, where the Buddhas reached the end of the path. So like they've achieved the goal. They've gotten themselves outside of the cycle of suffering, and they know all about it. So it's kind of like your mother. Your mother lived through a thunderstorm before, and you run to her with some sort of seeking some refuge from is it going to be okay? The first time you ever heard a thunderstorm, perhaps something like that. They've been through that before, so they know how to deal with it. They know, and it's a bad example, but in case of maybe a cut on your arm where you start to see some blood for the first time, your mother's had plenty of cuts, and you run to her, and you think it's the end of the world. They're like, no, it's not a big deal. You know exactly how to heal it and exactly what to do. So the Buddhas have reached the end of the goal. So two is the second quality is that he or she satisfied both needs. So both needs being his needs or her needs and others' needs. And we're working for both. That's kind of what this practice is about. So satisfied his or her own needs, achieved this realization and this level of Buddhahood where they're no longer suffering. So all their needs are filled. And then, what about my needs? This is the other quality of the Buddhas. They satisfied other people's needs. So what does that mean? Like I'm still here suffering. We're all still here suffering. So how they satisfy my needs is the debate there. And basically, this is just that a Buddha is perfectly able to help other people by teaching them. So they're able to perfectly satisfy your needs by teaching you how to achieve that goal themselves. Is the idea. So, one of his own needs is he lives in a perfect paradise, a permanent paradise. This suffering, not samsara like we're stuck in. And we'll get into more of what all the Buddha experiences and stuff in a later class. But so next one is Dharma jewel. Dharma. And so there's So two types here. And the Dharma is the teachings, really the teachings, the teachings of the Buddha. So there's one type is, and these these things are going to be more you want to get more technical about this stuff, so we're getting more technical. So you're going to learn all the ins and outs of all this. So books, or at least I'll attempt to share with you what I understand with all of it. So books is the first one, and the words. So these are, what we're studying, these classes, these courses, are ultimately coming from teachings of the Buddha, scripture. So that's one Dharma jewel. And the other one is in the hearts of people who have realized their ideas, and, that they have these realizations in their mind stream. So basically, ultimate Dharma jewel is the direct perception of emptiness, is that realization in people's minds that, That's true protection there. It's different than the books. Can I just have scriptures up here and can these scriptures like protect you somehow? Like if, there's a story back in the Buddha day where there was, and I'm terrible at remembering things, but I remember the gist of the story. So it was something like, there was like a war. Some people were coming to like kill these people. I think it was like a wartime, and some people were like chasing after these few people, followers of the Buddha, and they ran and hid under the Buddha's like robes, thinking that he can somehow protect them. Like that somehow just going to him, standing by him, was going to protect them, and they were killed because it's ultimately. That's getting back to Buddha, but it's more so that it's not necessarily the physical being that can help you. It's more about the ideas. It's these ideas that you need to understand and learn and put into your own mind, and which are the Dharma. And then when they become realizations in your own mind, in your own heart, then that's true Dharma. Is how they exist in people's hearts and minds. That's Dharma Jewel, and that's real protection. That's protection in understanding. In understanding how things work, exist, etc. So then there's kind of two parts to the. Sorry, some of these are, like I haven't studied super intensely, and these are like a lot of them. I'm relearning these all, and some of them are fairly complicated. So I'm going to try my best to share them all, but not my fault. Well, it is my fault. So I'm just the disclaimer that I'm just trying my best here. So you can divide everything into suffering or the way to get out of suffering, the way to get out of pain. And basically the technical, I'll just read to you the technical, and it's hard for me sometimes to figure out exactly what it means. But so the Dharma Jewel is the one that you go to for protection. And then they said the pure side of truth as a cessation and a path, and truth on the pure side within the heart of an Arya, which is part of either the truth of the end of the path or the truth of the path to the end of pain. So, it's, so basically this is kind of like, these are kind of like the two parts of the Dharma Jewel. And then this is kind of two more distinguishes, ways to distinguish, the ideas of the Dharma Jewel. So one is the path. And then the path is basically, the ideas that lead you out of suffering. So this is the Dharma. These are the ideas. That's kind of what I just said. Is the understanding of emptiness. The understanding that if you're good, that you won't suffer. You're creating seeds. 64 finger snap in your mind stream. Every time the mind moves, 64 finger snap are being planted in your mind stream. So every time you're unkind to somebody, you're planting 64 finger snaps. So just think if you have a bout of anger for 3 hours long, 64, I think I figured it out one time. It was like in a minute, there's like, or even in a second, it was like a billion seeds or a million seeds. Like, because if you could figure out how long a finger snap is, which is really fast, it's like 1/200th of a second or something like that. I mean, that's what, that's kind of how it's what they say as far as seeds planting in the mind. So you could just imagine that the longer, the more you put your mind towards something, the more seeds you're putting in your mind stream. So understanding that by putting good, you're seeing yourself do kind things, or unkind things, you're putting seeds in the mind stream. And understanding the pen, and using that understanding not to yell back at your screaming partner when you walk in the door and they're criticizing you for something. Understanding that you're being forced to see them irritating you because of you must have irritated somebody in the past or criticized somebody in the past. So it's funny because these teachings he did like 20 years ago, maybe now, a while ago, back in 98, I think, so almost 20 years. And then like on the retreat, we've been going over this same teaching, but like this is 20 years later. And he goes less into detail about, and this is really in the detail, but I'll just give you, if this is like confusing, all this detail about it, way I remember this is, and I think is the most important thing, is the Dharma jewel is being the direct perception of emptiness. Understanding emptiness is the Dharma jewel. The understanding that irritating people are not coming at you, they're coming from you, right? That's true protection, because when somebody is irritating you, by bringing that to mind, that's true refuge from creating more suffering in the past, right? Like that's real safety. If you can bring to mind the idea that, and the realization that this is a seed ripening, I'm being forced to perceive this person is irritating. You work through those proofs in your mind, and you've gone over them time and time again. When somebody's irritating you, and you stop yourself from yelling back because you brought that to mind, then you just took refuge. You understood that this can truly stop suffering. This can stop irritating people in your life. And you refrain from creating the causes that were going to perpetuate that suffering. So that's how I understand that. Buddha jewel is the way that I it's kind of like the cliff notes for me for the Buddha jewel is the fact that our minds are infinitely perfectible, right? So if my mind is also empty, and I am also empty, the idea of me, and you say your name to yourself, that person that you feel is so hardwired in here and unchanging, that is just an idea, and that's infinitely changeable, and it works, it exists, but how you're labeling yourself, how you see yourself, is a changing thing. And the fact that it's a changing thing is proof that it can be changed. It can go either way. It can become, your sense of identity can become worse. Or if you create the correct karma, the seeds for creating a more awakened mind, etc., then you can create a mind that's perfectly at peace, a completely enlightened mind. So I remember the Buddha jewel is the fact that the Buddha's mind is also empty. When I look down and see my parts, my body and my mind, right, and I look inside and see my mind, I'm gluing those parts together and calling them Mark. And then that's Mark, right? And then for all you look down and you see your parts, you label, you take your mind, your past history of how you've seen yourself, and then you glue all those parts together and you label them whoever you are, right? A Buddha does the same thing. He looks down, he or she looks down, looks at their parts, and they glue their parts together, and they see an enlightened mind, a body made of light, no longer suffering. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So it's just, the Buddha is empty too. It's not like the Buddha's out there on his own somehow, and like, I'll never be able to get there because I'm stuck here suffering. He must have been born a Buddha or something. A Buddha was just, the Shakyamuni Buddha was someone just like us, went through all the same sufferings, looked for practices that can stop suffering, and eventually reached enlightenment under the Bodhi tree, is the story, right? So what changed, like if he went from being a suffering being to a being that was not suffering any longer, if he was hardwired, and if we were hardwired the way we feel like we are, then that would be impossible, right? Because I am Mark, and I'm hardwired this way, and I can't change, right? So the fact that we're empty, the fact that the Buddha is empty, means that we can infinitely perfect our minds to become that. We can get to that place through creating the right seeds. If it wasn't the case, if we were hardwired and we weren't changing and we were unchanging, then forget about it. It wouldn't be, you'd be stuck in this kind of identity forever. So that's the Buddha jewel. That's kind of how I remember it, is the emptiness of the Buddha, that I can myself become Buddha, no problem, because I'm not hardwired Mark or suffering being. And if I do the right karma, then I can change. And the Dharma jewel being the direct perception of emptiness, the realization that things are not self-existent. Things are coming from me and not at me. So the direct perception of emptiness in an Arya's mind is the truth of the path. So that's kind of like part of the definition we just talked about, was the truth of the end of the pain and the truth of the path to the end of the pain. So the truth of the path is the direct perception of emptiness in an Arya's mind. And then the second part of this is cessation. So a cessation is when something is permanently stopped in you, just like an ending to something, a cessation. So it's basically the day you realize that your irritating person is coming from you and not at you, and you know that, and there's nothing that person can say every word to you in the world, but you have this realization that, that this is coming from karmic seeds, and that I will not respond negatively back because I know that's going to recreate more suffering for myself in the future. Then you just had a cessation of anger, for example. It's kind of like a belief in Santa Claus. When you realize Santa Claus is not a real thing, then you have a cessation, right? When you're little, you're eventually your parents are like, all right, fine, we did it all. Then you have a cessation, and it's kind of like it's the end of something. And because you don't yell back at your irritating person, then the irritating people will stop. Because you don't yell back at your irritating partner or whoever, then the irritating partner will stop being irritating in the future. So if you can end anger in your heart, then this is real protection. And it all stems around the understanding of emptiness. So true protection, Dharma jewel, is understanding emptiness, meditating on it every day. So when you do refuge in your preliminaries to meditation, the tagline that you see a lot in Buddhist, books and stuff, and is like, I take refuge in Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, right? That's basically these three. So I take refuge in the fact that, the Buddha, this being that's realized these things has taught me how to become that myself. And because I am empty, I can so there is the apparent, there is one level of the Buddha, okay, the physical Buddha, that statue over there. Like, we have this idea that you see maybe in Tibet, like where they pray to the Buddha, and like they think that like that's refuge, like it's like, just taking shelter, having Buddhas around your house is like somehow going to protect you, right? In Buddhism, we don't believe that like a statue or things like that can be of true help to you. They're good, they're good because to have them around you, they remind you. But ultimately, true protection, it has to become thoughts, has to become remembering these ideas. And it's not in the books, the Dharma, the Dharma jewel, one level of it is the books. You have these books, which are just the ideas, but these ideas, this paper can't do nothing for you, unless you're understanding them and bringing them to mind and using them in life. And that's what can really help you, is the act. It really comes down to ideas and emptiness, really. So all these courses now, after course 1, it's going to be like just digging in deeper. They're all going to sound redundant. Not redundant, but somewhat repetitive. You got like the download of like the whole path. Now it's just kind of digging in and getting the details and like putting the hours in. And, they say you need like part of the direct perception of emptiness is study. You got to study this stuff over and over again. You got to I always think of it like is like you got this huge cruise ship or something, it's like £1,000,000. I don't know how much a cruise ship weighs, 1,000,000 tons maybe. But like, just trying to like put the brakes on and stop immediately is impossible. There's so much momentum behind there that it takes a lot of time for that. If a cruise ship wants to stop, I'm sure they have to like plan a stop like 2 miles ahead of time or something like that, because it takes time for that thing to come to a stop, or even reverse. It's not like they can say, okay, let's back the cruise ship up now, and then like the cruise ship goes in reverse. Impossible. So it's like that. And, with these practices, one thing to understand them and get the teaching once, but like we just got so much momentum going, misunderstanding that you got to like over and over again, hear the same things over and over again. And, for me, each time I hear these things, I get a little bit more out of them. So if they seem repetitive, then good, because they're digging in deeper and you'll think about them more often, hopefully. So everyone got Dharma Jewel. So basically, the Cliff Notes version is just your understanding of emptiness. That's true protection. That's the thing that's going to stop your suffering. And we kind of did a little bit of it in the meditation. So, typically we go for refuge. If let's take like a job, for example. We want a promotion on the job. So we think, what are all the ways that, I don't know, typically think to get a promotion at a job? Work harder, talk to your boss, try to convince them of what a great employee you are. What else? Anybody have any else?
Sleep with your boss.
Sleep with your boss, right? So, we have all these worldly things that we think are that we do. And, of course, you try to do better work to impress, whoever is going to give you more money, right? But these things cannot help you in and of themselves. They don't have any power, because if they did, it would just be simple. Everybody just had to sleep with their boss and they'd get a promotion. It would be that simple. No one that ever slept with their boss would not get a promotion. Or, every time you worked harder, it would just be like more money. Okay, you worked harder this week. Oh, here's more money, right? But we take refuge in those things, thinking that that's how to resolve that situation, how to fix the problem that we want. So real refuge then is understanding that, how these things work and how these things exist, and the emptiness of so we haven't dove really deep into emptiness of. We did a bit, but like the emptiness of the job, the emptiness of your workplace, the emptiness of money, the emptiness of your boss, like for all interconnected with you, all connected to your behaviors. So, and we'll get more deep into that, because that's the whole meat and potatoes of all this. But true refuge comes as, okay, I want a promotion at a job. Who do I know wants, who can I help get a job? How about the employee that sits next to me that wants a job? The best thing that, if you wanted the promotion at a job, the best thing that you can do would be to help get him the job that he wants. To recommend to your boss that he should get my job, promote him. It's this heart of generosity. To get the job is one thing. So you have to help other people get jobs or promote other people. If it's money, financial, then you gotta be generous. Generosity is the seed, is the karma that you need to create. And so taking refuge in that. So typically, again, when we think of things that we want, goals that we have, we're all too often taking refuge in things that can't help us. So true refuge is bringing these to mind in every aspect. Not just the crappy shit, things when someone's irritating you or there's some situation you don't like, but in the good things, the goals that you have. So using your understanding of emptiness and how these things exist and their interdependence on you and your mind and your behavior. And whatever it is that I want, I got to help somebody else get, because I need to put those seeds in my mind in order for me to perceive them in my world. Otherwise, you can try all those other things and they might work, they might not. So what is behind those things when they do work? It's you've helped somebody else in the past, and it's just a random ripening. It wasn't very conscious. So that's Dharma Jewel. So Sangha Jewel is the last one. And you said community, but there's two ideas. There's apparent Sangha Jewel, and then there's ultimate Sangha Jewel. Apparent Dharma and ultimate Dharma Jewel. There's a apparent Buddha and ultimate Buddha. And we just kind of talked about where the apparent Buddha is the statues of Buddha, etc. Where the ultimate Buddha is the understanding that the Buddha is also empty, and myself too, I can achieve that. It's the mind of the Buddha, and the fact that it's empty. The apparent Dharma is the books. The ultimate Dharma Jewel is the understanding, right? So the apparent Sangha is Sangha. The actual term Sangha is a group of monks. This is defined as a group of monks, 5 or more monks. That's considered a Sangha. Like traditionally, this is considered a Sangha. That's the apparent Sangha. And, they use that term to, group of like-minded spiritual people. Like, this is a Sangha now, We can say, okay, we're not ordained people, but we all have some understanding of, not just because you're a monk doesn't mean you understand emptiness and you understand these ideas, There's a lot of monks that probably don't understand this stuff, even though they wear the clothes. They're just practitioners too. They just decided that they want to take a life more committed to practicing that every day. But so I would say, I've heard, they call these communities of just, whether there's monks present or not, Sangha nowadays. So this is a Sangha. We are a Sangha. I have to come up with a better name for it. I don't know if I did that little Facebook group thing, and Delco Sangha, it sounds so bad.
Oh, I saw Delco and I'm like, really?
So if anybody has any ideas, I didn't want to put Norwood Sangha because not everybody's from Norwood. But think about it. But it's just kind of, it's the apparent is a collection of people. The definition is a group of 5 or more monks, and then true Sangha ultimate Sangha is anybody who has seen emptiness directly. So an Arya. So that's true Sangha. That's true protection. Those people, those beings could help you. So the idea is that you can take refuge in them, like the monks, this group of monks, spiritual-minded people can help guide you in your path. They can, if you need, you have a problem, etc. Like you guys, hopefully, eventually maybe we'll have each other, if you don't already, to lean on, when you have questions or problems. And, so it's kind of like you take refuge in the Sangha, instead of going to your friend so-and-so that just is always stressed and anxious about everything, and you go for her advice, instead, okay, let me go to the community of people that are like-minded, and I'm not very thinking clearly right now, so let me go to somebody that, maybe can ground me and guide me in the direction that I know I want to be going. But ultimate Sangha is anybody who's seen emptiness directly. So an interesting thing is if and when you perceive emptiness directly, you become two of the 3 jewels yourself. So if you had direct perception of emptiness, then you immediately become the Sangha jewel, and you become the Dharma. You have the Dharma jewel in your mind, right? You have the direct perception of emptiness. So when people are taking refuge around the world, they're taking refuge to you, which is kind of cool. So when people are praying, around the world, they're, because it's the realization that they're, it's more of the realization that they're praying to, or taking refuge in, and you've seen it, and and that's the thing that can help you. I think we almost get all the way through here. Good. And so, so in the direct perception, just another thing to add in there, the direct perception of emptiness, you have a cessation of ignorance. You have a stopping of ignorance. And you it's kind of like you rip the fabric of misunderstanding, right? Because you've seen how things truly exist. So last thing, and this is from Lama Marut's teaching. But there's a powerful, really powerful way of taking refuge in meditation, like a powerful meditation that, in my best understanding, is more of a higher teaching on it, which he taught in the class. But it's this idea where you, let's say, for example, I think we did it last week actually, but you have your irritating person, or you have some sort of situation that you are going to be in that day that is going to be troubling for you, that you're going to struggle with. So maybe it's your ex-partner that drives you insane every time you see him or her. And you just have a struggle with that. So you sit down and you bring to mind, this a holy being, a Buddha, or someone like the Dalai Lama, and basically you say, okay, this is the situation that I'm in, and then you say, can you go for me, right? You make this deal with them that they're going to go for you into that situation. And you just, in your meditation, this is in your meditation. So then in your meditation, you just sit down and you just watch them go through that situation, whatever that difficult situation is for you, and watch how they handle it, and watch, how they respond and with wisdom, right? And then it's kind of like, and you just sit back and absorb it, and you keep doing that, replay it, and you're putting these this being with higher qualities that can handle situations better than you perceive yourself being able to do in the present in front of your mind, which then starts to habituate your mind more to that kind of behavior yourself. So it's a really powerful practice, because as you expose your mind to, and the whole point of bringing these holy being teacher, people with high qualities to the mind, is because they start to infuse your mind. They start to become more of, you start to take on those qualities yourself, is the idea. So you think, what would he do? You see the Dalai Lama going and seeing your ex-partner drives you insane. And, is he going to flip out and like start cursing them off, or, and it obviously just seems almost ridiculous to even think that that would even happen. But of course not. He would handle that with wisdom and very kindly, etc. So then you kind of, you're trying to teach yourself what to do in that meditation. You're trying to, by watching them. But who's teaching who? Who's teaching who in that situation? You're bringing it to mind. You're creating that. That's your mind. Those qualities are already in you. Like those abilities to know what to do are already in you. You already have this. Otherwise, you wouldn't be able to meditate on it. You wouldn't be able to recognize it in other beings. So
you're really watching yourself.
You're watching yourself, right?
When you said that, I was
yeah.
I already knew where that was going.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this is like the highest part of you is what you're recognizing. Mm-hmm. So it's already in you. You already know what to do. So just keep, it's a really high practice is to recognize that even these qualities that, every day, if you're sitting and doing the preliminaries, that this being that you're bringing to mind, these qualities that you see in them in the world, right? They're already part of you. They're just reflecting to you your highest part of you. So the higher the better. That's why in that meditation, the higher the better. Go for like gold. Don't go for like your neighbor that sometimes is kind to like his sister or something like that. And half of the time he's shitty. Go for like someone that has really high qualities. Because you're just bringing the mind and realize at that time that you're bringing the mind your highest qualities in yourself, and these are already part of you. So taking refuge in that, that's taking refuge, using that as like a rehearsal for your day. So like, how am I going to go in this situation, and how am I not going to keep recreating the crap that I'm experiencing? Cool.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Cool. That's very helpful.
Look at that, 9:01.
Because it's all about the solutions to our problems are within ourselves.
Right.
Right.
I mean, everything that you said from class 1.
So yeah, and that's and the things are coming.
It's also realizing that you're not hard about it and that you can't.
The Buddha, it's already part of you. If we have these teachings, if we have a Buddha that we're aware of in the world, where's it coming from? It's coming from us. It's part of us. We always say that you're really close. If these things are all around you, you're wrapping your head around these ideas like we are so close that you don't even realize. From beginningless time, that arrow has been shot, and now it's just touching the target. This life, we're almost there. It's the fact that, and then the cool thing is that as you practice these things, you start to see more of this stuff around you. And you think, oh wow, that's really weird. This person, just all of a sudden said really out of character kind thing, or really kind people around me everywhere. And so you think it's like all of a sudden, oh, I just moved to this new area and look at this. Everyone's so nice around here. But really what's changing is you are changing. You're perceiving the world differently, which is the world for you. So as you change yourself, it's like an upward spiral. As you get closer to the goal, then you see everybody else getting closer to the goal too, because we're all connected that way. So it's really cool. And it gets, you look around eventually and like irritating people for one, you start to remove irritating people and you look around and you're like, it takes a few minutes to like find someone that irritated you, you know, like, and it's weird, you know, like, but at one time you had irritating people all around you, and you think, oh, well, yeah, well, that's because that person left, or I don't talk to that person anymore, right? We come up with all these rational ideas about it, but really we're changing. It's the seeds in my mind have changed, or your mind, etc. So good luck.
Thank you, Mark.
So
Thank you.
yeah, thank you all for coming.
I'm glad I came.
So take refuge. So really, you know, when something is difficult, you know, understanding is the best refuge you can do. That's the only thing that can help you.
What if we call ourselves the Thursday night Dharma Sangha?
Thursday night Dharma Sangha? What if we have to change it to Wednesday night?
Change the name. My favorite book is called Friday Night Knitting Club.
Oh, all right.
And it was just this group of women who met on Friday night, and they just became like this community.
Yeah.
Just like what you just said we are.
There has to be